Hey guys, it's Welps. Welcome to my bow staff aka Liberator PvE guide. I'm a bow staff main in KR, been playing this class for a long time. I'm not gonna go into too much details, just gonna try and keep it basic and simple so you guys get an idea on how to build and play Liberator. As I've seen quite a bit of new and returning players, and also there's gonna be people trying out this class maybe as an alt, or they play something else in PvP but they wanna play bow staff in PvE. And this video would not include skill rotations because as I was editing, the KR patch note came up and I saw the deadly marker nerf. The skill cooldown reduction effect of the deadly marker has been changed so that only one effect can be applied per party at a time. So yeah, no more deadly marker stacking. And this change is most likely gonna come to global this week, which will change our current rotation. So I'll be making a new separate skill rotation video. Okay, anyways, we'll start with the gear first. This is my T2 build page with no arc boss and nebula items. This will be in description. So at the top of the page, there will be a PvE armor template. There's a melee and range version. Both stuff is range, so we're gonna use this one. And by the way, these builds are min-maxed for purely PvE and it's not necessary. As a PvP player, you should always be going for the PvP build first. And any PvP build you have is going to be sufficient for PvE content. So PvE builds should always come later unless you only play PvE or you have an alt that does PvE only. Okay, so your best weapon is going to be, for staff, it'll be Dagon. And for longbow, it'll be Arc Lunar Radiance. For PvE, I could probably argue that Arc Lunar is better than Tevent. I think this is the best PvE bow. It shouldn't be too hard to get hold of Arc Lunar. Dagon is best in slot for both PvP and PvE for every staff players. So it's very expensive as it also drops from a world boss Dagon. So your next best alternative is going to be Abyssal. This staff is almost on par with Dagon as it got buffed recently with the species damage boost 64, and that translates to roughly like 3-4% damage increase. And the stats are pretty much the same, both Dex and Wisdom. Total stat on Abyss is 20, Dagon is 21. You're missing one stat. And CDR is very good stat for PvE as well. So compared to Dagon, it's very cheap. Depending on the server, it's going to be like 1k to 3k. And if that's still too much for you, your next alternative is going to be Eben. Another very good staff. This should be under 1k. You can also get this from solo dungeons. It's got good max damage and it still has 2 stats, even though one of them is perception. It's okay, you still get extra 21 stats and attack speed is faster. So the gap between these weapons are not that significant. They are all very good. For your stat, this pretty much applies to every class. You go for 50 strength and then you put everything into Dex and Wisdom. That's because 50 strength gives you 100 heavy attack chance, and Dex and Wisdom are the stats that give you the most max damage. And any remaining point, you can try to push 40 perception for the buff duration. And after that, if you still have more points remaining, I would put it on strength. Alright, for your armors, the idea is to have 2 void set for 20 max damage and 2 crit damage set. And for range, Spectral Overseer is the best, because it's basically perma 25% crit damage. All you need to do is stay 5 meters away from the boss. And then I use Crown Skull of Victory for Dex and heavy attack. Mana cost efficiency is also really good stat for PvE. For your cloak, you have 2 choices, either this one for heavy attack and crit, or Howling Wind just for the attack speed. Now these 2 are also boss drops, so it can be hard to get. So your alternative is going to be tier 1 Harvester set for crit damage. These are the best in slots that Korean people like to use. Spectral Mask, Spectral Pants, and Violent Demonic Beast. This boots is probably the best PvE boots. It's 10 stats and it's the only boots with attack speed, and it's also got bonus damage, everything needed for PvE. But unfortunately in global version this only drops from Arc Boss, so it's gonna be really hard to get. Every PvE build pretty much locks in Void Chest and Void Glove because they have the best stats out of all the Void pieces. Alright, for your accessories, these are your best in slots. and these 3 are boss drops. So the alternative for your necklace is going to be Death Nail, pretty cheap, and for your bracer it'll be Primal, and for the ring it can be either Flame for the crit and stats, or Purity is just as good because attack speed. So yeah, this is what the budget build will look like. Abyss, Luna, Crown, Starlight, Void, Void, Harvest, Harvester, Death Nail, Primal, Purity, Celestial, and Hero's Legacy. And rune synergies. For your weapons, you want Dex attack speed. On your red one, you want heavy attack, either magic heavy or just normal heavy. For your yellow rune, skill damage resist or mana cost. For blue, if you want a min-max DPS, you want either mana regen or max mana. For your necklace, you want Dex move speed. For your bracer, there's no stat synergy, so you just stack red runes with heavy attack, preferably the boss heavy attack. For ring, you could take strength cooldown, or you can also just stack heavy attack. Belt also doesn't really have any good synergy, so you can stack heavy attack. For your traits, you wanna prioritize the offensive traits first. So attack speed on a glove, and the skill damage boost on rings and necklace. After that, you get the utility ones like buff duration, buff duration, move speed, buff duration. And then you start doing defense traits. I would recommend getting the HPs first if you have them on your gear. For your endurance and evasion, it's really not important. It almost doesn't matter at all, but we still need to trade it for the CP. And to min-max, you want magic endurance, because the boss mech is magic. Boss also have crit. It works the same way. If your endurance is higher than boss crit, they will not crit on you. And if you have higher endurance, they are likely to do minimum damage, so you take less damage. So magic endurance first. And I like to have ranged evasion just because a lot of mobs have range attacks. Especially when you're doing dailies, you complete the quest, you press B, and then a random dwarf sniper hits you and they interrupt your recall. And also a lot of nebula mobs have ranged attacks and they hurt, so range evasion is good. I will have the full runes and traits in quest log. Alright, this is my staff mastery. You pretty much go all in on the offensive category because those are the ones that increase damage. You know, heavy attack, damage, crit, damage boost, burning damage, skill damage boost, self-explanatory. The passive that you need is just this one to increase skill damage boost and Arctic Thunder. The epic nodes that will increase our DPS is going to be the Power Surge and Mana Spring. All the points on this side is pretty much just min-max, CDR, CDR, CDR. So yeah, you don't need full 200 points on a weapon. About 130, you should be able to get 2 epic nodes to 10, and you should have everything that you need by then. And the heat fusion, I had a lot of questions about this. This is very bad for PvE because these consume your burn stacks. The damage you gain from consuming these burn stacks is not worth at all, it's very minimal. And if you consume the burn stacks, that means you are missing out on the burn tick damage, which also means that you lose heavy attack from flame condensation, and you're missing out on the proc chance of your Judgment Lightning, the second cast. And also your fire barrage will shoot less projectiles, so it's very bad. This is my bow mastery. Again, we go all in on the offensive tree, so these pretty much get activated automatically. We just don't really need the range and the hit, so we don't take those. So all of these are used, and the first epic node that you want to go for is Omniscience. This increases main weapon base damage by 20 when you use survival skill. The survival skill that you have is the Nature's Blessing. So yeah, Nature's Blessing is going to be part of your rotation, and you also gonna want this. This gives 5 base damage to everyone that's affected by your survival skill. So if you do Nature's Blessing and hit all of your party members, they all get 5 base damage. So it's a buff to yourself and the party. We also gonna want Wind Rush. When you are on top of Whirlpool, it's gonna give you 10% CDR. You gain Whirlpool from Nature's Blessing. So yeah, including the Arc Luna weapon passive, Nature's Blessing gives us 4 buffs. And Battle Tempo, we don't take this because the normal rapid fire stance, you only have to stand 2 seconds for it to activate for the attack speed. But now you have to stand 4 seconds if you take this, and it increases the effect by 20%. 20% of 20 is 4, so it only becomes 24%. So it's not worth it. It's very hard to stand still for 4 seconds to activate this. Just for 4% extra attack speed, it's not worth it. Especially when you're doing trials, you're never gonna proc this. For your overall mastery skill, this is what I use in endgame, these 4. But it's gonna take a while to unlock all these. So at the start, you don't have much choices. You pretty much take the ones that gives you damage. So you're gonna start with these 2 at the start. And at 380, you're gonna be unlocking the poison. You take the Deadly Viper. And at 520, you take the potential for the stats. Stat equals damage. And then you also unlock this at 520. You can choose to use this over Overcome Crisis. But if you use this, you're gonna be consuming your mana really fast, which means you're gonna have to use Inner Peace more often. So yeah, if you're able to manage that and that's fine for you, use that for extra damage. Personally, I don't like it, so I'll just head these, even though this one doesn't proc much. And then at 680, when you unlock Falling Flower, you take this over Overcome Crisis. And then if you still want to use Dragon Ascent, you'll be using this over Viper. But I don't really like Dragon's Ascent. This is what I use. Okay, for your artifact, you want 4 Harbinger Talismans for the 9% crit damage. For your Solar Stone, you want the green one, Plains Ravager. This one increases your base damage by 22. This is the only Solar Stone that increases your damage. And for your Lunar Stone, you want to be using Abyssal Beast. On dealing damage with the CC skill, the base damage increased by 4%. It doesn't really have to be a CC skill, it's just the skill type has to be Control. We have 3 control skills: Firebomb, Meteor, and Ice Spear. And you're gonna have really high uptime with it. With my current gear and without Stellarite, my staff max damage is 578. I use control skill. It's 601. It increases my base damage, max damage, by 23. Alright, thanks for watching guys. See you on the next one. Peace.